Hi, folks, and welcome to the Revere Veterans Community Show. Today we have a special person. She's a community volunteer and a community veteran. Her name is Olivia Ferrante, and let me welcome you to the show, Olivia.
Thank you very much.
It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. I'm very happy that you asked me.
Right, and for you people who don't know, Olivia has a little eyesight problem or travel vision, but I would let her tell you her story. So, Olivia, start from the beginning, how it was when you were a little child.
Okay. Well, it's probably hard to believe looking at me, but I was a preemie. My mother was only 5.5 months along when I was born. My brother was 18 years old. He was working at the hospital on the switchboard, and he got a big surprise when they took his mother in. And when I was born, they thought I was dead. So they were helping my mother, and the nurse saw me turning blue, so they realized I was trying to breathe. So my aunt was a nurse there. This was the old Revere Memorial. And she went with my father to take me to the children's hospital. And my father said that he held me in his hand. He said, my body was as big as a frog and my head was as big as an orange. I didn't exactly like that description. But they said they had to check 3 times on the way to the children's hospital. They had to tickle me to see if I was alive, because I was only 2 pounds. So they put me in an incubator with 100% oxygen at all times, so that I could breathe. Otherwise I would have died, certainly. But the oxygen, not unknown to them, caused my eye problem. I was born perfectly normal, but the pressure of the oxygen on the eyes, because they weren't developed yet. I didn't have fingernails or toenails when I was born. It put pressure on the eyes, and I don't have a lot of sight. The only reason I have some is because they took me out of the incubator early without telling my parents. They were experimenting to see what was the matter with all of us kids. There were thousands of us. When I was born in Massachusetts, there were 2,500 in Massachusetts alone that had this malady. And it was a big mystery. Why would they have it with the best hospital in the world, probably? So that was that. And I grew up. I went to the Revere School, graduated from Revere High. And
you went to Regis?
Yes, I went to Regis College, which used to be for only girls. Now it's co-ed, a Catholic college. And I got my BA degree there. And I went to Boston College, and I got my master's degree in education. And I specialized in teaching the blind and visual handicapped. I figured I would have a good chance of really understanding the problems that those children would have, because I had the same ones.
Right.
That's why I went into that field. I could have been a regular teacher of history, which I specialized in college, but I wanted to do something more. So I had that job for, first I worked at the National Braille Press to make Braille books, which was good experience, and I know Braille. And then I taught, I was a traveling teacher and taught blind and visual handicapped children for 17 years in Revere, Chelsea, Everett, Malden, and Saugus.
Right. Now, Olivia, I see you have a lot of nice things on the table here. I see you have a book that's Braille.
Right. This is a missalette that you can see it has writing, but it also has little bumpy things here, which is Braille. I use this at church to read at the masses. So I put it on the lectern.
Can I just look at that for 1 minute?
Sure.
Thank you, Olivia. I just want to show this to the folks. She's going to be reading the 20th song for us,
yes.
I hope.
Yes.
As you can see in the page right here, that there is hardly any writing, no writing on it, but it's all in Braille. And that's how she reads it at the church, and she's going to do it for you right here.
Yes.
Go ahead, Olivia.
Thank you. Okay.
Read us the 23rd, because I think it's everybody's favorite.
And it's very lucky, because when I read at church, I don't have to look down, so I don't lose my place. I just put my finger on my place, which is the people like that. Okay, here it is. The Lord is my shepherd. There is nothing I shall want. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. In verdant pastures he gives me repose. Beside restful waters he leads me. He refreshes my soul. He guides me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk in the dark valley, I fear no evil. For you are at my side with your rod and your staff that give me courage. You spread the table before me in the sight of my foes. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Only goodness and kindness follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for years to come.
That was beautiful, Olivia.
Thank
Let
you.
me thank you. Let me thank you. A beautiful job. And by the way, that is one of my favorite Psalms.
They used to read that when I was a little girl at school. They used to read that every day
Did they?
before they banned the prayers.
Right?
And so I always loved that psalm too.
Well, let me tell you, talking about religion and the 23rd Psalm, you knew of Father Vincent Capodanno, I believe his name was?
Yes, he's
He was a recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I would let you tell his story.
okay. Father Capodanno was a missionary in the Orient, and when the Vietnam War started, he volunteered to become a chaplain to the Marines. So he got training, and then he went to Vietnam. He spoke some of the languages there because he had been a missionary. And he was there. He did one tour, and he could have gone home, but he volunteered to do another one. And there was a skirmish, I would say a battle, but they call it a skirmish. And he heard about it, and he ran to the battle. He wasn't supposed to go there, but he did. And he started pulling men out of the line of fire and giving them the last rites and blessing them and helping dress their wounds, whatever he could do. And finally, after getting wounded twice, he got machine gunned to death. He threw himself in front of a medic to try to shield him because there was a machine gun, and he got something like 23 bullets, and he died. And he got, as you say, he got other decorations, also, but he got the Medal of Honor.
Was he from Revere?
No, he was from New York State, and he was Italian American, as I am. But the reason I am so interested in trying to help his cause is because he was a Roman Catholic priest, but he helped everybody. He didn't care what you were. But his cause for canonization is ongoing. It started, I think, around 2005. So we're trying to make his name known and have people pray to him for favors. And the people that are trying to make his cause come about, that he'll be a saint someday, is the Archdiocese of the Military. That's all the Catholic chaplains in the United States that work all over the world. So I'd just like to put a plug in for Father Vincent. He's wonderful. He does favors for people. I've had people tell me, and I think maybe it's because he came from New York, I'm not sure, but he is quick. He does things sometimes within minutes of when the prayer is asked.
Right.
So
a lot of great people come from New York, and by the way, you're looking at one now.
Yes, I know that. We have quite a few saints from New York, Saint Kateri for the blind.
I'm certainly no saint.
But we have various people that worked in New York, like Mother Cabrini or Bishop Neumann. He started in New York, and a new saint, Mary Ann. So I have affection for New York. Of course, I'm a Bostonian, but still, New York has a lot of good things.
I believe we had a great bishop when I was living in New York. I think his name was Bishop Sheen.
He did work in New York. You're right, Bishop Sheen. In fact, his canonization is ongoing too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's already, there's 3 steps, well 4. First, you're the servant of God like Father Vincent. It means they started investigating you.
Right.
Then when you get, all the paperwork and everything in Rome, then you get the title of venerable. And Bishop Sheen is already venerable. His cause and Father Vincent started almost at the same time. And then after they do more research and there's a miracle, then the Pope decides that you become blessed. And when you become blessed, it means they can name a church after you, you have a feast day, and then the last step is, with another miracle, that you become a saint. You're in heaven anyway, but these are just higher, titles. So the saint that was canonized last year was my wonderful, I love her. She was Blessed Kateri Tekakwitha, and she was an Indian, first American Indian, I suppose they say Native American now,
right.
Totally Indian, a Mohawk and Algonquin, her parents.
What was her name again?
Kateri Tekakwitha.
Oh, okay.
She is the patron, the reason I'm so close to her, she's the patron of the visually handicapped, because she got smallpox when she was 4, and it destroyed most of her vision. So she had some sight like I do. And the weird thing is, she was made blessed in 1980, and it took the exact amount of time from when I was born to her being blessed, and then the exact amount from her being blessed to being a saint. It was exactly half my life.
Right. That's a wonderful story, Olivia. I also see you have some wool.
Yes.
And you also have a scarf. Would you, you know, for a person who's impaired, I got to give you credit. You do a tremendous amount of work. And tell the folks out there exactly what you do and how you get to do that.
Well, after 9/11, I always was helpful for the veterans if I could be. During the war in Vietnam, I used to send Christmas cards and write letters and stuff. But then after 9/11, I wanted to try to do something, and I remembered about the soldiers' home. So my mother taught me to knit when I was 8, because you don't have to look. She showed me. So I make these scarves.
Beautiful.
It's hard to show the whole thing because they're sort of long.
No, but it is a beautiful looking scarf.
And I used to send them directly to the soldiers' home. Now I do it through the Veterans Office, so I don't have to mail them. I just carry them down there. And then I also make lap robes, which are like if people are in a wheelchair. They're wide. They're maybe like 30 by 30 inches. So I do knitting on that. And
Can I
also
see that for a minute?
Sure. I also give books and magazines to the Veterans Office, and they send them to the troops, or they share them with the veterans here. I don't care, as long as the men, or women too, enjoy them.
Right. Olivia, I'd like to say one thing, if I may, on behalf of the Revere Senior Center. To the folks out there, if you see any yarn that you don't need, donate it to the Revere Senior Center at 25 Winthrop Avenue, Revere, because they do the sewing for the blankets. Olivia comes down there and helps us out all the time.
Yes,
so
I
if
do.
you have any yarn that you would like to just donate, drop it off to Lois Diamond, 25 Winthrop Avenue, Revere, so people like Olivia and others can make blankets for the troops. So we want to thank you. Go ahead, Olivia.
And I thank everybody that donate, John, because I buy a lot of my own too, and it's very expensive now, extremely expensive if you get the good stuff. So any kind, we're not going to specify. We like the 4-ply, 3-ply, but whatever people have is fine. Whatever the colors are, we can use them.
Right. By the way, I also want to thank you for coming up to the Senior Center and making those hats for the troops overseas in Afghanistan that go underneath their helmets.
Oh, yes. Actually, the people do that. They crochet them. I actually knit, but I do make hats, but of a different kind. I make the hats for the babies that are in the hospital that have cancer. They lose their, they want to keep their heads warm, the poor things. So I make those. I know about those other hats that they make, but I knit. Other people crochet. It's with a little hook. That's how they crochet.
If people wanted to drop off yarn to you, Olivia, how would they do that?
Well, I don't know if you'd want me to.
Yeah. Tell them how to get a hold of this. If you want to drop it off at the Senior Center, they could do it there too.
Yeah, that's fine if they want to do that, because I usually go there and we can take our pick of whatever we want. And some people have given me yarn personally that know me, but I think I'd rather have them do it through the center. So, in this day and age, you don't like to give your address, unfortunately.
Yep, and by the way, if you have a lot of yarn on there, let them call the Senior Center at 781-286-8156. I'm sure someone would come down and pick it up. I'm sure they would. Oh,
yes, we can always use yarn, because there's a number of ladies that are in the group, and of course we go there once a week, but we work at home, because you couldn't get much accomplished just 1 hour and a half a week.
No.
And I do that, especially in the cool weather. I watch TV and I knit at the same time, or I listen to a book on tape and I knit. So it's a very good pastime, and I've always done it all my life, but now I focus more on the veterans and the children. My mother and I used to knit for Morgan Memorial, but then they sort of didn't send yarn anymore. So, but I've always done it. As I say, she taught me how to knit when I was 8.
Right. Now, Olivia, you are also nearsighted, and you have what they call travel vision.
Yes, that's right.
Explain that to the folks out there and to yours truly.
Okay. Well, I'm nearsighted, and I can't see things far away. I can see objects close at hand. For instance, I can see you. I just can't recognize who anybody is. I can't recognize faces. I can see lights when I cross the street. I can see the number on the bus, 117, 116, but I can't see anything at a distance. I can read. I read with besides Braille, I read print with a magnifying glass, and I do read large print. I read anything, mostly always just regular print, but anything, whatever format, I read on tape, I read on cartridges from the National Library Service, anything I can get. I love to read. If I could read 24 hours a day, it wouldn't be enough. So I love to read, and as I say, I do the knitting when I'm watching TV, so I try not to waste any time.
Right. Now I would like to ask you, before we went on the show, we talked about electronic chips, the new thing, and you said you had a doctor who went to Israel. Could you tell us that story about that?
Well, when I was small, my doctor was, we didn't know, my parents and I didn't know until I grew up. His name was Albert Sloan. He was so famous. He was the top low vision doctor in the world. Wow. We didn't know him. Our pediatrician just sent him there. He was in Chelsea. We didn't know. He got a room named after him at the Mass Eye and Ear Hospital. And he was a Jewish gentleman, and he started a clinic in Israel because he used to travel there every year, and he used to tell us. I remember once he brought me a beautiful embroidered Our Father card, bookmark made out of cloth that he got in Israel. Wonderful, wonderful man. But nowadays they're trying to help blind people to restore their sight. It doesn't work for everybody, but they are working on electronic chips that they're trying to put in the retina, which is, the eye is a camera and the retina is the film. So if you have something wrong with your eye, if your retina is okay and your eye has something blocking it, you still can't see. But if the rest of your eye is pretty good and your retina is blocked or non-functioning, you can't see either, because it's like a camera with no film. You can't get an image. So they're starting to put electronics in the eye and then have people wear a certain kind of glasses that has other, computerized electronics. And they've started to help blind people see at least a little bit. At least some of them, I read, can actually read a little bit. And these are totally blind people, so anything they can do, I'm sure it's not normal sight yet, but anything they can do, there's a huge difference between having no sight and having some sight. The whole world is different. You can read your mail, you can, go places easier. You can go places if you're blind too. But the main thing is your personal life. You can have privacy. You can have a checkbook that you can read yourself. You can pay your bills yourself instead of having somebody else do it. It's just, no matter how little sight someone has, I feel blessed that the good Lord let me keep what I had. I lost most all of it, but what I have has stayed. It's stable. That's just the grace of God, and I hope it always does.
That's great. That's right. Now, Olivia, people that are totally let me put it this way. To get a seeing eye dog, do you have to be totally blind or just fairly
Well, years ago, the rule was you had to be totally blind so that you wouldn't try to lead the dog. But now they've loosened up the rules. I'm not an expert on it, but I do know people with some sight that also do use a dog. So the rule has changed. But when I was growing up, you had to be totally blind. And also another way of getting around is which I do at night, is using a long white cane. And the person has it going in front of them from side to side, like this.
Right.
And so that they can tell what's on the ground. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Let's put it that way. It doesn't protect you if something is hanging over you, or if you come to construction and you have the white cane, there's something there, you don't know what it is. So, but it is a great help.
This would be a good invention, Olivia, what you just talked about, to have a cane that they have like on the new cars, that they have, if you're backing up and you're close to an object, it sends out a signal. So maybe they could put that on some of the canes, so when you're walking around or you come near a pole, the cane will let you know where it is.
Well, they actually have been experimenting with things like that, sonic things, for years. When I was in grad school in the 70s, they were, but somehow it didn't really work out. But they're still working. Who knows? They might perfect it as computers get smaller, and they're working on. They have a thing that they're working on for indoors that the people could get signals and like little voices would come that have little plates and chips. But to outfit a building with that, it costs like $100,000. So expense is one of the great things. Like with computers, people can get accessible computers, but you can't buy it at Radio Shack. You have to get Audible. If you want something Audible, you have to get all kinds of software, which I don't know about. I don't have one. But if you want Braille to come out of your computer, you have to buy more gadgets to attach to the computer. So blind people can use computers. It's a godsend. I just personally don't have one because I have so many books. I'm not sure if I'll ever live long enough to read them all.
By the way, you know something else now? They have these iPods that have talking books.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever listened to one of them?
Well, they have computerized ones now, but I've been registered with the library at Perkins for my whole life. I read Braille books from them. They had the talking book records,
Yep.
you know, with the record players years ago.
Yep.
Then they moved to cassette players.
Right.
And now they have what they call cartridges, which is quite amazing. It's one rectangular thing about this big with a little piece of metal on it. And you put it in this machine, and you could fit, you know, War and Peace, you know how long that is?
Oh, yeah, by Leo Tolstoy.
Yeah, you could fit War and Peace on that one cartridge.
Wow.
And I read a book of mysteries and stuff, and it was something like 1,600 pages, and it was on one cartridge. It's amazing. And then, of course, what the library does, if you have a computer, you can actually download books that they carry onto your computer and all those little gadgets people have, and you can listen to them. But I'm happy to sit there and listen on the machine. That's just me.
Right, Olivia. I got to ask you, what your future plans? I mean, what are you looking forward? I know you're retired, you're not working, and you do a lot for the community and for the veterans, but what are your future things that you would like to do if you could?
Well,
and how we can help you do it?
Well, I just like to continue. I think I was a publicist for RSCHP for a long time, and that I also belong to a special group at the church called the Third Order of Mary, which is very nice. I'm the treasurer there. So I'd continue to do that, and you know, doing the knitting naturally. And I also belong to the Commission on Disability. I'm the only original member. Steve Rich started it. And by the way, there would not be an elevator in City Hall or curb cuts on Broadway if it wasn't for Steve Rich. We got a federal grant at the beginning of the 90s to put the elevator in City Hall. And a lot of people don't know that. And I always try to mention it because that was totally his work to get that grant from the federal government to put that elevator in. So he was a wonderful man, and it was very sad when he passed away. He was in a wheelchair, and he passed away at a relatively young age.
Yeah, do you still teach and help the kids that are blind?
Well, at certain times I have taught Braille to a few people if they were interested in learning through the Commission on Disability. There hasn't been anybody for a while, but I have done it for some sighted people. And I always try to give information to people about how to, like if you meet a blind person on the street, what do you do? How do you approach them? I try to educate people if I can.
And how do you approach them?
Well, if you see a blind person and they seem to be doing fine and having no problem, just leave them alone.
Oh, leave them?
But if they get to say they get to a street and they seem to be maybe confused, or there's a huge amount of traffic and it doesn't look safe, just go up to them and very courteously say, "Excuse me, can I help you?" And if don't grab them by the arm like this and try to push them, because I mean, people do that. They mean well. You can push somebody right into traffic or down the stairs. No, you don't do that. If they said they need help, sometimes they'll you know, I just need help crossing the street because I'm a little confused. And sometimes somebody might say, I'd like to help you. Can I be a sighted guide? And if the person says yes, the blind person takes your arm and they stand a little behind you, so that when you walk, if you go up and down stairs, you're ahead of them, and they can feel with your arm. They can feel if they have to go up or they have to go down. There's nothing worse than having somebody grab you, push you ahead of them, And there's the stairs. I mean, that's a good way of getting killed. People don't think that's bad. They think they're helping. So I always try to be courteous, and because sometimes when I'm using the white cane, people might ask me, you know, do you need help? And if I do, I'll thank them and say yes. If I don't, I'll thank them and say no, thank you, I'm fine. But some disabled people are very nasty. Oh, I can do it myself. Leave me alone.
I've heard that.
That's not good, only for one reason. If a sighted person sees another blind person, a disabled person in the future, they're not going to approach them because of getting turned off like that. You can always be nice and think of other people and say, thank you, I'm fine, I don't need any help.
Okay,
that's
Olivia,
all you have to say.
Excuse me, now we're getting to the end of the show, but I want to say you are a powerful icon to the city of Revere for coming on and telling the people exactly what your problems and how you can help them. And I want to thank you from the bottom of the people of Revere for coming up here. May God bless you. Wish you the best and everything else that goes with it. And I hope you have great success in the future. And to the people out there, thank you for listening. God bless our troops. God bless the United States of America and the people of Revere, but especially Olivia. God bless you because you are a religious person. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.